Yes, so welcome back all of you. In the last class, we have read about what is determinate structure, what is indeterminate structure. I will try to recall the definition that I have explained in the last class. A structure is said to be statically determinate if it can be solved using the equations of equilibrium. If a structure or a member can be solved using the equations of equilibrium, then it is called as statically determinate structure. But if a structure or a structural member cannot be solved using the equations or conditions of equilibrium, then it is said to be statically indeterminate. So determine means we are trying to find out something. So that's where the term called determinate is coming into picture. Indeterminate, we cannot determine the scenario. So that's how we define it as indeterminate. So with this, so this is one of the important concept that we are going to see today. You have to prepare thoroughly for this, and it's a useful question for mid as well as compre. Okay. So the first part, what are the differences between determinate and indeterminate structures? So slowly, one by one, I will explain conceptually. So first thing we have already seen. So what are the equilibrium conditions? Sigma fx is equal to 0, sigma fy is equal to 0, sigma mz is equal to 0. So these are the three known equations of equilibrium. Now, if we can solve it using these three, then it is determinate. If we cannot solve, then it is indeterminate. Now, second point, this is the first one, and this is the second one. Bending moment or shear force at any given section is independent of the material property. Oh, very interesting point is coming now. So we have to analyze the determinate structure. That means wherever we are trying to calculate a bending moment, let us say, for example, I am taking a simply supported beam. So this is pinned and this is roller. If it is subjected to point loaded center, then you will sketch the bending moment as like this, isn't it? And correspondingly shear force also. So now at any given section, so I wanted bending moment here or here or here or anywhere, whatever the material property. So material property means there are two important values. One is Young's modulus and other one is Poisson's ratio. The two important material properties for any analysis are Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio. So actually, in a determinate structure, to calculate bending moment and shear force, we don't want the, we do not need the, not want, we do not need Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio. But if it is indeterminate, then it depends upon the material property. Okay, so you have to know that whether Young's modulus, if it is sometimes it will be given that Young's modulus is constant at every section. And you already know there is something like if you have a tapered cross section, tapered you have studied in strength of materials. So if you have tapered section, I can have this as steel and this as aluminium. So in order to analyze this type of beam, which is indeterminate, we need to know the Young's modulus of or material property of both the materials. That is second point. Third point, again, it is not depending upon the cross section or moment of inertia. So when you take a beam, so the beam length will be L, but the cross section of the beam will be width and depth. Correct, right? Every beam. So all of you can see on the place where you are sitting right now. If you can try to see any beams, that beam will have length, it will have depth and width, cross section. So if you want to sketch it in 3D, so you can see that here. Now you can see that this is the length, this is the width, and this is the depth, LBD. So if you are trying to analyze a determinate structure, it doesn't much vary with respect to the moment of inertia or the cross section. But if it is indeterminate structure, then it depends on both these parameters. That is a very important point. Now the fourth one is something related to temperature. Now we all can experience, of course, in Hyderabad especially, the temperature is crossing 40. So it has touched 40, and the coming 2 to 3 days, it is going to increase to 43. But exactly 1.5 months back, we have seen a temperature of less than 15 degrees also. Now, if you take steel structure, that steel member, because of increase or decrease in temperature, it will undergo some sort of change in the behavior. But if it is a determinate structure, it do not cause any stress. But if it is an indeterminate structure, it will cause some stress. And we will try to see how this is possible in the coming chapters. As of now, you try to remember that if there is a temperature variation happening to any material or a member, then the stresses will not be formed, or it did not cause any stresses in determinate structure, but in indeterminate it will form. And the next point will be stresses due to lack of fit. All of you, please listen this word very carefully. This is an important term. What is lack of fit? I will put it in your language right now. If you don't understand, you can drop a message. So, what is lack of fit? Okay, okay, fine. So now imagine a case where I have bought a shirt. Okay, I have bought a formal shirt from a shop. Okay, of size some XYZ. Now when I bought the shirt, wherever I have purchased, I don't have a trial room in the shop, so I cannot do the trial, and I just randomly picked it, assuming that that will fit into me. Okay, I brought it to my house. One good thing is the shop owner is good friend of mine, so I can say even if it is not fitting, I can give it back. So when I came home, when I'm trying to wear it, I found that okay, at shoulders it is very tight, and at back also it's not fitting. So why is that happening? So that is a new shirt. I didn't do a trial there, but still, when I'm coming and using it, it's not fitting to me. So that's a new one. That's one scenario. The second scenario is I have a shirt which I bought it 10 years back. So 10 years back, it has exactly fit into my body. But now when I am trying to wear it, again there is an issue with my shoulders. So what would have been the reason? So my body composition or my body physics might have changed. So whatever was there 10 years back, what yes, correct answer, size variation. Whatever I am 10 years back, maybe I might be lean and all, but now I might have gained weight or body weight, or the body positions might have changed with respect to the fat content. That's why the shirt is not fitting. This is second case. The lack of fit is something associated with the second case, that sometime back a shirt which exactly fit into my body is not fitting right now. Okay, that like that, if you take all the structural numbers, what is happening there? Now, a structure was constructed. Imagine a case where a railway bridge. Let us take the example of railway bridge. So, a railway bridge was constructed, and the trains are moving daily during winter, summer, and rainy season. And the bridge was constructed 15 years back. Oh, now is it okay? So 15 years back, whenever the structure is constructed, they will use some connections, right? Some bolts will fit in, right? So whenever a bolt connection is being fit, or even you need not go with that technical aspect of a bridge. Just simply use your car or bike or cycle. Your cycle pedaling, you are pedaling the cycle, there will be a chain. If the chain is not properly fixed there, can you pedal fast or will it move? It will not move. Because of that, what will happen? You don't know that the chain is not connected properly in your cycle, but you are trying to pedal fast. So you are putting so much of stresses. So that is called as lack of fit. So it can be to our body, it can be to our bike or bicycle, or it can be to any structure. During construction time, they might have ignored a small connection, but after 15 years, because of exposing to rain, winter, summer, X, Y, Z phenomena, that is creating lot of stress, and that would happen only for indeterminate structures. That is called as lack of fit. So lack of fit and temperature variations both will are very important considerations which we will learn in the coming chapters. So as of now, that is what is how do we define the lack of fit. Technical definition I will teach later. As of now, it's not important. But conceptually, if you are clear, it is very easy to define. So in a determinate structure, there won't be any lack of fit. But in an indeterminate structure, you will be having the lack of fit. So moving forward, the sixth point and the last one here would be the extra conditions like compatibility of displacement are not required. But in indeterminate structures, you need compatibility as well as equilibrium. Now let us try to see the difference between equilibrium and compatibility. You might get the doubt. So what is equilibrium? So equilibrium means that which is talking about these three equations, which are related to forces and moments. Forces and moments. Okay. Now, how do we define the compatibility? Now, another question for all of you is, forget about civil engineering now. We are not civil engineers. We are just a normal common man with any other degree. How do we define compatible? When do we say that something is compatible? Can anyone answer? When do we say that something is compatible? And how do we say that is compatible? So compatibility is again supporting. Oh, very good answer. Compatible means supporting. That means, okay, if I myself and someone like Revant, we are good friends, and Revant will say to his parents that no problem, I can stay in college because I have the compatibility with so and so friend. So if we have that compatibility, there will be some flexibility. Okay, we can share food, we can go out together, we can buy books together, we can read together, we can go to movies together. So with whom will you go to a shopping or a movie? With a person who is compatible to you. Correct, right? So who are the first people who are very much compatible to us? Our parents. So like that, for a structure, compatibility means apart from force, moment and all, stress, strain and all, compatibility will be depending upon the displacement as well as rotation. It is with respect to displacement as well as rotation. So these are two important uh, terms that will come under compatibility. So see, if there is a large deformation between you and your friend, so how do you displace? Like displacement means some sort of enmity, some sort of quarreling, and all those ego feelings and all. So so like that, for a structure, when it is subjected to different forces, in order for it to be incompatible in nature, it should have a displacement less than how much it can take. Now, remember, one beautiful concept is coming. If the displacement or the rotation under compatibility conditions are less than the maximum, or if the forces, moments, and stresses are less than the permissible stress under equilibrium condition, that concept is called theories of failure, which you will be studying in Strength of Materials Unit 1, Strength of Materials 2, Unit 1. So when simple logic, no. See, I'm trying to hold this pen in my hand and I'm trying to break it. At the breaking point, what will happen? The stress which a pen can take is less than the permissible stress, is greater than the permissible stress. At that point, what will happen? It will break into pieces. So that's where compatibility and equilibrium are very important for indeterminate structures. So if you want to know the difference between these two, this table will give a very good understanding. So this theory has to be read and a very important concept it is. Okay. Now let us move forward. So this is something called, how does a beam and a frame structure look like? So let us say, for example, you have a beam as well as a frame. So when you have the beam and a frame, just a second. Yes. Yeah. So when you have a beam and a frame, what will happen? A frame is again shifted to, so this is the whole frame. The left hand one is the complete frame, like a building. I took single part, and from that single part I took one beam out. So this beam is called continuous beam. In that beam I took another part. This is a simply supported beam, correct, right? So this is pinned, this is roller, sorry. So for that we sketch the bending moment and shear force. So this is what we are going to do in the subject. Of course these have nothing to do with determinacy, but replication of, if somebody has a doubt that how do we relate our building with this subject analysis. So our building as a whole is taken, converted into single frame, and from that we took all beams, and from that we took a single beam and we are trying to analyze it. Okay, next comes the thorough part of understanding what is indeterminacy. All of you please see carefully. This is a very important slide, all the next coming slides. So if you have a fixed support, okay, if you have a fixed support, how many reactions do we have is something that is important. So a fixed means it is intact onto the wall. It cannot move in any direction, but it will have a reaction, means it will, reaction force will be developed vertically, horizontally, as well as moment. So for somebody who is actually aware of what sign convention is, or who doesn't know what sign convention is, I would simply say one concept. For sign convention, please refer to this word called RUN, that is run. Run means right, upward, negative. Right, upward, negative. Automatically, left upward will be positive. So if you can try to remember one specific terminology in terms of sign convention, you can remember this run, of course. Anyways, so now if you can see, a fixed support can have three reaction components, one vertical, one horizontal, and one moment. So always, if you have fixed, it means that reactions is equal to 3 by default. You have to remember. Next, you have a pinned support. It is also called as hinged or pinned. So if you have pinned support, it has two reactions. So can it move? A rotation, it will be there. Because rotation is allowed, you cannot have a movement. So you should know why there should not be any movement here. It will have only horizontal reaction as well as vertical reaction. Because it can rotate to and fro. Now, can somebody give the daily routine example of a pinned support or a hinge support? Hinge or pin? Every day, definitely at least once, correct. The example of pinned support is the door. Whatever the door we have, in the door, the edge connection is actually the example of a door hinge. So that door hinge will actually rotate. Therefore, there would not be any moment. So therefore, for a pinned support, so it can be written as like this. So the number of reactions are 2. Remember all these things. And then we have the roller support. In roller support, because it can move horizontally, reaction will not be there. Because there won't be any reaction, no? Because it's already moving horizontally. And it can rotate also. So it will have only one. And roller can be represented in these two forms, and the reactions are 1. So there can be other type of roller that is called as guided roller support. So for guided roller support, remember this image also. Whenever you see this type of support, it will have one vertical reaction and one movement, because you see it is moving horizontally, but it cannot rotate here. This is called guided roller. Guided roller means, you know, in railway station platforms, they will try to carry big weights in a platform, one sort of a small vehicle. That's a guided roller. It will have movement and it will have vertical reaction, but it will not have horizontal reaction because it can move horizontally. So in order to recall everything to you, I'll put everything in one single slide here. So for sixth, I'll draw a table instead. Anyways, it can be shared with you later. I will draw a small table here for all of you. So in this table, you have fix three reactions. So this is reaction, reaction support. Fixed three reactions, hinged two reactions, that is vertical, horizontal. Here vertical, horizontal, and moment. And then roller. So again, if you what type of roller? Conventional roller. Only one reaction, and that is vertical. What is guided roller? So guided roller means one vertical reaction and one moment. So total two. So all of you should continuously remember this terminology and the reaction parts of this overall thing. So fixed three reactions, hinged two reactions, roller one, guided roller two. Now, for the first time, I am trying to introduce to all of you a concept called internal hinge or I would rather say a connection in the center of a beam. Okay. Now, if you can see here, all of you, please remember the three terms that are coming into picture: internal hinge, internal roller, internal link. So, where do we use all these things? That also I will say. So, internal hinge and internal all the connection type of things are actually used in bridge construction. So in bridges, whenever you are trying to connect different supports, you need to have a hinge in between such that that connection will help the overall behavior of a bridge such that moment at that point will be equal to zero. Moment at that point will be equal to zero. So what does that mean? I'll write it here. Presence of hinge, presence of, and it is represented like this. All of you can see on the screen, it is represented like a small dot at the center. Presence of an internal hinge will lead to moment is equal to zero, lead to moment is equal to zero. That means the bending moment at point C is equal to zero. And what is the additional point that was given? This is very important point. What is that? An internal hinge provides one additional equation for the structure. All of you please listen carefully. Okay, let me put it this way. How many equations of equilibrium are there? How many equations of equilibrium? So equations of equilibrium are three. Correct, right? So total number of equations of equilibrium are three. Now, if we have an internal hinge, it is giving additional equation. So total will be four. So whenever you have an internal hinge, equations of equilibrium will be four. That means it is giving an additional case for us to calculate the structure, whether it is determinate or indeterminate. I will show that to you in the coming slides, how we will calculate it. And the next concept is internal roller. So an internal roller, either it can be axial force or shear force, will be zero. So axial force at C and D 0. See here, it cannot move horizontally and it cannot have any shear force at this point. Therefore, this is also one additional condition. So these type of things are generally used in shear connector. Practically these are used in shear connectors for steel design. Practically. As I said, internal hinge is also for bridge construction, that I already spoken about it. Now we have internal link. If any member is connected by hinges at its end and subjected to no external loading in between, then it can be termed as internal link and it will carry only axial load. See, it will have two internal hinges. So two conditions are there. How many equations of equilibrium? Known 3. Known equations of equilibrium 3. Given condition as per internal hinges 2. So for this problem, total will be 5. So all of you 100%, both for mid as well as external, you will be asked at least an 8-mark question or 7-mark question on determine the degree of static indeterminacy with internal hinges, because that is there in the syllabus. So you have to carefully use it. Okay. Now you can see also here that internal release also provides additional equation. So out of these three, internal hinge, internal roller, and internal link, internal hinge and internal link will provide us with additional reactions. So that is a very important concept for us. Okay. Now, moving forward, the last slide before taking into some of the problems. So statically determinate and indeterminate structures. So I have already spoken about it, but some more additional considerations for your understanding I have added. You know all these things. So in statically determinate structures, bending moment and shear force are independent, lack of fit, support settlement, all those things are there. Did we already read these things? This is a separate theory. This is taken from a gate material for your understanding. This is taken from a gate material to give you a confidence that whatever the table we have seen, is it similar? This is what we have read, right? Difference between statically determinate as well as indeterminate structures. Okay. So now, yeah, so we will try to continue with the problems in the next 5 minutes. So the next topic that we deal is static and kinematic indeterminacy. Okay. Now in this manual, I will just try to show you only. Don't look into this equation. Do not look into this. Do not look into the formula, because I will be giving you a shortcut method for you to solve. Okay, so let me not look into that here. So with simple terms, let me start with simple problems. Okay, all of you be ready for answering the questions that I'm going to ask with respect to determinacy. If you want, you can write it in the notes also. Calculate now statically determinate structure problems. So problems associated with static indeterminacy. Okay. First, what type of a beam it is? Can someone message? What type of a beam it is? Cantilever, correct. And this one? What is this? Yes, simply supported, correct. So cantilever, simply supported beam, correct. Now all of you see what type of support is here for first beam. For first beam, what is this support? Fixed. Very good. And this end is free. Okay. Huh. So for fixed support, how many reactions will be there? So I'll write it here. For fixed support, reactions is equal to 3. Very good. And for free end, will there be any reaction? For free end, will there be any reaction? For free end, will there be any reaction? No. So, no reaction at free end. Very good. So, okay. Equations of equilibrium. Equations of equilibrium. How many are there? 3. Okay. Now, degree of static indeterminacy. All of you listen carefully. Degree of static indeterminacy is equal to number of reactions minus number of number of known equations. Number of known equations. So what are the number of reactions in this case now? 3. And what are the number of known equations? 3. So total it will be equal to 0. Therefore, a cantilever is a statically determinate. Cantilever is a statically determinate. Very, very important one. Now, for pinned, how many reactions will be there? For pinned, how many reactions will be there? For pinned, Karthik, it is not fixed, Karthik, it is pinned. You said 3, it is actually 2. For pinned, we will have 1 reaction, and for roller, we have 1 reaction. So, how much is the total? 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Wonderful. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Correct. Now, so degree of static indeterminacy is equal to, how much we get here? Degree of static indeterminacy is equal to known reactions 3 minus known equations 3. So that is equal to 0. So this is also statically determinate. This is also statically determinate. Okay. Now, I'll go to another problem now. So statically determinate structures are simply supported beam and cantilever. Okay. Now let me ask number 67, Harish. Number 67, Harish. Harish?
Sir, sorry, sir.
Harish. Yes. So did you hear the concept? Harish, don't mute yourself. You be unmute only. Okay, I think he left. Okay. Now let me try with 68, Akshay Reddy. Akshay Reddy.
Hello, sir.
Akshay Reddy, did you hear the concept? Did you hear the concept? So you can see this problem now. So this is hinged support. This is roller support, and this is also roller. So how many for hinged? 2 reactions, 1 reaction, and 1 reaction. So total how much? 4. And degree of static indeterminacy is equal to number of known reactions 4, number of known equations 3. That is equal to 1. So degree of static indeterminacy for this 2-span continuous beam is equal to 1. And I'll give one more example also. In next class, we will see all example problems by solving. Okay. So for today's class, that's it. Thank you all for your patient hearing.